Well, we were up about 5:30 this morning visiting the polls. People are turning out. Campaigns are revving up. People with signs and coffee and all kinds of things. So it's going to be an exciting day in New Hampshire. I think it's going to be in many ways a turning point in American politics. If Bernie Sanders, I'm confident that he's going to win. I don't know what the margins will be, but it's an exciting time, and I think we're going to have a big turnout later on, and this is going to be record-breaking, I think, in terms of turnout in New Hampshire.
And are you thinking that high turnout is good for Sanders?
Well, obviously, high turnout in general depends who turns out, but generally we think that high turnout is good because of the excitement that's particularly come from young people all across New Hampshire, and I think it's reflective all across the country. The enormous surge of people at these big rallies, people who volunteered. I've been traveling the country for Bernie as a surrogate in many, many states, and you see the same enthusiasm, whether it be in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Florida. Just the enormous energy and excitement about this political revolution. I think it's going to be reflected today in New Hampshire.
And what in particular about the Bernie Sanders message you think is resonating in New Hampshire in a way that it isn't resonating so much in some of the other states that the primaries are going to take us to over the coming weeks?
Well, I think actually similar things are resonating, but the core message is this. If you want to stop a rigged economy, and if you want to put the economy back in the hands of the people, if you want to stop the corruption in Washington, take away the influence of lobbyists and the people that make it impossible to pass legislation that helps the people, you have to be part of this political revolution. And that's one of the things that's connected particularly the young people. And I think it's been startling and has made the Clinton campaign embarrassed and shocked that tons of young women are flocking to Bernie Sanders. In New Hampshire, women between 18 and 34 are going 88% for Bernie Sanders. And I think that's because young people in general see that this is their future, and this political revolution is about them and about them seizing control of their future.
And what do you think about Bill Clinton coming out on Sunday in support of his wife, rather obviously, but delivering quite a scathing attack on Bernie Sanders? What did you make of that?
Well, I mean, I think that the way that Senator Sanders has been handling this made it really difficult for Secretary Clinton to do that. I don't think it's what we should be focused on. I think what this campaign should be focused on, and Senator Sanders has made this clear, it's on the issues, it's on the economy, it's on jobs, it's on infrastructure, and that is what people want to hear about. They don't want to have a bickering contest between the two candidates, and quite frankly, Senator Sanders will make his own, will define himself, and Bill Clinton is not going to define Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire or around the country.
He's being nice. I would say it was an embarrassment, and it was actually pathetic, and I feel in a certain way that Bill Clinton did not help Hillary Clinton's campaign, and you'll see he started to walk it back the next day. 24 hours later, he was basically muzzled, and I think that's what happened with Gloria Steinem and with Madeleine Albright. That does not help the Clintons. It's a replay of 2008. If you remember when Barack Obama started winning, the Clinton campaign pulled out the same tactics. It's embarrassing and it's not effective because what people responded to, both with Barack Obama and with Bernie Sanders, is the authenticity of someone and someone who wants to do something right for the people. They did not want us to do. They did not want, as Mark pointed out, these kind of sleazy tactics. And I think that's hurting Hillary Clinton. And it'll hurt her beyond New Hampshire because those video clips will circulate through the next primaries.
Sure. In terms of, I'll come to that in a second. In terms of dirty tactics that are being used, of course, the big one was last night, was Donald Trump at his rally when he talked about one of his rivals, his chief rival, Senator Cruz, and used the P word. We know what the P word is. What do you think about that? And what do you think about the way that the Republicans have conducted themselves over these last few weeks?
I didn't hear what he actually said. What word did he?
Oh, you're kidding me. You haven't heard about that?
No, I know there was a clip, but I don't know exactly what he said.
Okay, a member of the crowd shouted out that Ted Cruz, because he wasn't willing to waterboard people like Trump was a P-U-S-S-Y. And Donald Trump echoed that from the crowd. So, I mean, the headlines are basically, Trump basically called Cruz a...
Well, it's kind of a clown car over there, actually, and I wake up every day hoping that, in fact, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump is the nominee of the party, and certainly some of the others, because I think Democrats will do quite well with those kinds of people who are so far out of touch. I saw John Sununu here, and I mentioned to Mark that in today's context, John Sununu is almost a left-winger, a liberal in the Republican Party, which kind of shows you how bad the Republican Party is. I mean, these people are lunatics. They don't believe in climate change. They're misogynist. Bernie Sanders was right when he called Donald Trump a pathological liar. These are the kinds of people Republicans are putting up, and I know that mainstream Republicans are cringing at the notion of having any of them as nominee, because not just that they're going to lose the White House, but they're going to have a down ballot. They're going to lose state houses and members of Congress.
Absolutely.
They're panicked.
They're worried about that in a big way. I mean, you can't walk through the state house in New Hampshire without having that. You can feel it in everything that they do up there. I think people like Senator Ayotte and other people like that are up for election. They are really worried about the Republican Party, as they should be.
And that's an important election, as you point out, Ayotte for the control of the Senate, and that could be decided, right?
That could be decided, sure.
By who's at the top of the ticket.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, you've got a book out. Sanders is obviously popular with young people. A lot of young people watch our channel. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your book and why young people might be interested in what messages are in there.
Well, the easiest way of talking about this book, it's 95% Bernie's words, actually. It's like a handbook. So if you want to know something, if I want to debate with my friend Mark what Bernie's positions are in foreign trade, every chapter is about 2 or 3 pages, and I can go and I can actually quote what Bernie's words were going back many years, not from the campaign time, but to show that he's had these positions for 20 and 30 years. Mostly, it's more recent, but it's a very slim organizing handbook. It's about Bernie, not about me, but it's about his words.
Mm-hmm. One final question. Obviously, Bernie's probably going to do quite well in New Hampshire, possibly going to take the state, but afterwards it's an uphill struggle for you guys in your campaign.
I don't agree with that.
Well, the South is not so good. Hillary Clinton's got 500 superdelegates already sewn up. I mean, when it actually comes down to, if it came down to delegates of the convention votes, how are you going to be able to do it?
Let's separate 2 things. First of all, every single time we've approached an election, if you go back 7 months, people said, oh, Iowa, Bernie's behind by 30 points. It was essentially a tie, and actually more real people voted for Bernie in Iowa than voted for Hillary Clinton. In New Hampshire, he's going to do very well. Coming out of this, I think we're going to win in Nevada. We're now very competitive there. Once people in South Carolina, it's always been a case of people just not knowing Bernie. And more people are going to pay attention to him as this election goes on, and he's going to do very well in all those states. Now, on the superdelegates, this is really important, and I want to put out a message to these superdelegates. If Bernie Sanders, well, let's start differently. If Hillary Clinton wins this nomination fair and square by winning the majority of delegates in the actual elections, I think most people will have no problem with that. If Bernie Sanders wins the majority of delegates in the states and in the caucuses, in the 50 states, and they try to essentially steal the election by using the superdelegates to tip the balance, they will blow up the Democratic Party. And they will blow up the Democratic Party for a decade to come, particularly because those young people will not stand for that kind of corruption and that kind of backdoor deal.